Hello. Welcome to my show where I bring in different people from different career fields and different walks of life to showcase their talents and specialties to the world. Today I have with me one of Beverly's own. He is a senior about to leave in about 4 months, Malachi Daubon. So come on up, Malachi.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
So how's everything?
Man, everything's been pretty busy, a lot of college stuff going on, other activities in school. But I mean, of course, I'm happy to be able to be active at all. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and speaking of that, anything going on with like college, like applications?
Yeah, so I got all my applications in. Right now I'm working on submitting the FAFSA for financial aid. I got one application back already, so I got accepted into one of my schools, so it was pretty good. But there's definitely other schools that I'm aiming higher for, waiting on those responses.
And what school accepted your application?
So far I got accepted into Cal State San Francisco, and then I have about 16 other schools that I applied to, waiting for all those to come back.
Wow, and what would be your dream school?
Dream school, I think by far would be USC, because I want to go into film, and in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, it's the best film school. So that's definitely the goal for me, is to get into USC.
Yeah, and I know you've done acting here with theater, you've done theater productions.
Yeah.
You've told me personally that you're into directing, which we'll talk about further. But I was thinking, this class here would have been the best class for you to take for directing, for film production. So now my curiosity is, why didn't you take this class?
I think that's a good question. I think that I've been told by a lot of people that KBEV has like the best program for the career path that I want to go into. And I think that ultimately I decided to go into theater because I think the logic that I used was that I want to direct actors, And I felt like the best way for me to direct actors is to know what it takes to be one, I look at people who are professional coaches and like the best coaches of all time, like Steve Kerr. He played basketball before he was coaching basketball, And I look at people like Clint Eastwood. He was an actor, and then he became one of the best directors that are out there, And so I thought that being an actor myself and understanding what it takes to be one would help me a lot in directing actors for my career.
Yeah, that's something I've always heard because, last year I came up with the idea, I'd want to be my own boss and like have a business. I don't know at the moment what type of business, but, I've always heard that in order to run that successful business, you have to, like whatever business I want to open, just start out in that field, start out working for a company like that and then learn everything. And then I could open up a business myself and it would be successful. So I think you were taking the right steps in being in theater, understanding how an actor works, especially since you want to become a director. And let's talk about that now. So what type of directing would you want to do? Like what type of films?
I want to make feature films. I think my ultimate goal is to be a feature film director. And like right now I already started doing my own short films. I finished one up recently, and then I'm finished writing another one. And so I think that the main goal is to become a feature film director, and I'm just at this point taking those steps to get there.
And you say feature film. What would the theme be for those films, like sci-fi, action?
Oh man, I think I'm really into drama movies. Like I'm really into deep movies that like kind of make you think and really just like put you. I like when a director makes you feel what they want you to feel, and I think that I feel the most out of like dramatic movies. And so I'm completely open to like doing all types of genres like action or comedy, but I think I want to start off with more dramatic topics.
And I think that's a good point that you made is, I don't know what it is about drama. Like, it's not the best thing for us to deal with. We have to deal with it, but it's also unhealthy to focus on it. But, it really gets me thinking, too. I think about how fortunate I was to grow up here, the family that I have. You seem fortunate, too, but it also gets me thinking about the people who aren't unfortunate unfortunate and how unhealthy that is.
Right.
So it really gets me thinking, how it was even like that for those people. And, I'm the fortunate one, although I'm grateful for what I have. I also feel sorry for those who don't have what I have. So it really gets me thinking.
That's exactly how I feel, and I feel like the best thing for me to do for unfortunate people is to help share their story, because I feel like a lot of people have their things. Some people donate money, some people donate their time, and I think that what aligns with me and my career goals and what I want out of life, I feel like storytelling is really important to me. And stories last throughout the ages. Like, stories are some of the only things that have lasted for like hundreds of thousands of years, Like, we hear stories now that people heard like millions of years ago. And I feel like if I can tell a story that can enlighten people and educate people and change the way people look at other people and change the way they look at life, and that story survives through the ages, I feel like that would be like the most fulfilling thing for me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do with my show here to the viewers, like just to make this different. And the one thing, stories, I feel like the number one thing important for a story is honesty and truth, which I feel like you're trying to bring out into your stories. That's what I'm trying to bring out into my stories as well, because not only is drama a big thing, but I feel like deception as well, like not knowing what's real and people wanting to, live with lies sometimes.
Right.
They're comfortable where they're at, not knowing the full truth, because it can be a lot.
Right.
But they don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, and I understand why people are like that. I think that film for me is like my way of escaping reality, because I feel like reality can be really hard, and everyone has their own way of escaping it. And I think that my way is film. And so I understand why people, maybe they go to their sources of escapism to like not have to realize how bad reality is. But I think that it's really good if you can take away that people escape and then throw in some stuff to educate them too, so they can be having a good time, but then also taking something away from what you created. Like, I really like, it's like Tyler Perry. I like how a lot of his movies are comedy. Like, he has a character, Medea, and he takes his character who's so comedic, and it's just like you can't help but laugh at the character. It's an hilarious character, but in every movie that you see Medea in, there's a deeper meaning behind it. And so she'll like go around the movie cursing at people and like having like the funniest moments, but then at the climax of the movie, she explains what the lesson is to learn. And I feel like it's such a perfect way to incorporate those things in a lighthearted way, so that people can take away what you want them to, but then at the same time enjoy themselves and escape their reality.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because, personally, when you told me that you were into directing and you've done some acting as well, it got me thinking about Tyler Perry, because not only has he done acting himself, but he's directed, I'd say, most of his films as well. I know a little bit about Tyler Perry, but not a lot. But I do know that he had a very rough childhood, and I can see that in some of his stories, in some of his movies. I can see, how dramatic some of them are. And then when I read about his biography for his early life, I was thinking, oh, that's why some of them are dramatic. But like we were talking about earlier, there's a moral behind that story. There's a reason behind it, and I think he's done excellent work. He seems like a terrific person.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe you could be headed in the same footsteps as him.
I'd hope so. And I didn't used to think that I would want to. Like, when I used to look at film and look at Tyler Perry, I would think, like, he makes great films, but I was like, I want to do something more different, like more serious. Like, I want to be like a Quentin Tarantino director. And I feel like my whole conception of that was completely changed. He put out a documentary on Amazon, and I watched it. And, like, I guess the things that I felt about him were things that I've like heard from like other people, or like because he really kind of hits home in the black community, and so it's like when I heard what other people had said about him, it was like, oh, he's just like, he's not like a real filmmaker, like a serious filmmaker. He's a really good one, but like they didn't think he was like serious, right? But then like I watched his documentary, and like the things that he went through, the things that he overcame, and like the way that he built his own empire from like the ground up, from being a playwright and having his shows completely bomb, and then like having like the most popular shows in the black community, to be able to like buy an entire military base to make his production company. And what I love most about him is like the stories that he tells, they're so deep because of the fact that he can relate to them. And how like he says in the documentary how like his mom, he would be sitting and his mom would be talking to her friends, and he would hear their conversations, and like the movies that he makes now resemble the struggles that they went through, because that's what he grew up around, that's what he can relate to, and those are the struggles that he felt too. And I feel like those, like that, for that reason, it makes all of his movies and all his stories even more deep, and it gives them more meaning.
Yeah, and I mean, what you mentioned about how, his stuff really hits home for the black community. That's my goal too, is to, just because, there are laws now to protect people from discriminating against others, but I still see discrimination. I haven't necessarily seen it, physically, but what I see on the news, especially with the George Floyd protests. And I'm going to be honest, even here at the school a little, there's still some racism, and my goal really is, not just my goal, but humanity's goal, I hope to see, is that we can just put an end to it. And I just hope to be a voice for that as well, and to try and make a difference within that as well.
Right. And I feel like that's the best thing we can do,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everyone has their way, and as long as they know what they can do, and they do as much as they can do to help humanity, I feel like that's the best thing we can do.
Yeah, and I mean, now I want to talk about, where are you from, and, how long have you lived in Beverly Hills? How long have you been in District 4?
So I was born in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A lot of people I don't really I do talk about it. Like, everyone will know, because I like the fact that I'm born in Chicago. It says a lot about me. But I didn't really live that long. I lived there for like 6 months when I was a baby, and I moved back for 1 year when I was older, but it was like a year. So I'm born in Chicago, but I've been in California and LA all of my life. Beverly Hills for like the last 3 years, since sophomore year. First came to district sophomore year. And I actually, before this, I was at a different school. I was at Fairfax High School, which is like a completely different environment, completely different people. And before that, I went to a pretty diverse middle school and elementary school. So I've always been able to like mix with a lot of different people, and I feel like that's helped me a lot. And I feel like my first year in Beverly, I kind of already like fit in. I was already like accumulated, and I felt like that was because of the fact that I've dealt with so many people, so that I didn't have to like worry about fitting in, because I just knew how to deal with people. And I think it's made my time here really easy and enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't know this for sure, but when I met you, when I was a freshman and you were a sophomore and I met you, I mean, it just seemed like you weren't new to the school, because some new people, they don't really know the school that well. You seem to know the school very well, so it was very hard for me to tell that you were a new student, and I did not know that until you just told me now. So
yeah, I think that was the goal. Like, the goal was for me to come here and for people to think that I've been here, and ended up working. But what I can say is that when I first came here, everyone thought I was a teacher, because I've had facial hair since I was a freshman in high school.
Oh.
And so I walked into school sophomore year, and I was trying out for track, and I go like standing in front of the track team. The whole track team's sitting on the floor, and I'm standing next to the coach because I'm about to talk to him, And and someone yells out like, "Are you a coach?" And I start laughing, not realizing that for the rest of my entire high school career, that would be like even now, I run into people who still think that I'm a teacher, you know. Mostly like the younger kids, like freshmen. Freshman comes in, they've never seen me, obviously. So the first thing they think is that I'm a teacher, you know. But I fit in pretty easily. So it was an easy experience coming to Beverly.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, you do act mature, like an adult would. I've noticed that in you, and like I feel like that's a similarity for me and you, is because I didn't have the same experience that you did, but that's definitely my vibe as a person, is to just get along with everyone, to not just fit in with like one particular group, but with everyone, from like the jocks to the really smart kids, and I try not to be judgmental as well, because everybody has a gift, no matter what group you're in.
Exactly. I think even now, like, I'll go to work, and I'm the youngest person at my job, because it's like I work in retail, but the position that I'm in, I'm the youngest person, I think, in the whole company, and it's a pretty big company, you know. And I'll go to work, and I will be like just casually talking to people, and they find out I'm in high school, and they completely lose their mind. Like every single time I tell someone like, "Oh yeah, I'm 17," their minds are blown. They never believe me. I had to show people my ID like multiple times because they won't believe the fact that like I'm 17, you know. And they all say the same thing. They're like, "Oh, you know, you're really mature for your age." And I feel like that's a good thing. It's a good skill to have to move forward faster in life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's same for me. Like, my goal is to always just stay ahead of the game by just being mature and doing what I'm supposed to do as a kid. Like, I'm still gonna make mistakes. I still have a lot to learn. We all do, but it really just helps you as a person when you treat others with kindness. You're mature for your age, and I feel like it just opens a lot more opportunities for you, even when you're an adult.
Right, it does, because it comes to the point where, like, if you're mature now, you don't have to act like an adult, you know. I feel like it's best to enjoy our childhood, because it's not going to last long. We're going to have a longer adulthood till we have childhood. So I feel like enjoying it now while we can is the best thing for us. But at the same time, I feel like developing the skills that you need to handle yourself as an adult is important. I feel like there's a very good balance between having fun and playing around, but then also growing and developing as a person. Because I can't believe that I'm turning 18 in March.
Wow.
2 months from now. Time flew by. I remember being in elementary school saying like, "Oh my God, I want to be the middle school kids," you know? Then I'm in middle school and I'm like, "Oh my God, I want to be the high school kids." When I was a freshman, I'm like, "I want to be a senior." I don't want to be a senior, because now I have to deal with life independently, you know? And I'm excited to do so, but what I can say is that I wish I enjoyed my childhood more than I did originally.
And, you know, that brings me to my next question. So, you know, about that, as a senior now, what advice would you give to lower classmen in high school, like freshmen and sophomore who are new to high school, as well as kids in 8th grade who are about to enter as freshmen next year?
I think I would go right back to the topic of like balance, you know? I feel like balancing your fun life and then like the things that you need to do, and knowing what you need to do and what you don't need to do. You know, I feel like for me, there wasn't as much as a balance early on. And so early on, my life was way more social, and I didn't focus as much as I should have in school. But that was like freshman, sophomore year. And then after that, I'm like, all right, got to lock in, got to do what I have to do. Because there'll always be time for other stuff. There will always be time to hang out and play around and like, you know, do you. But then at the same time, there's things that you cannot get a second chance in. Like, you can't get a second chance in high school. You can, but you don't want to. You know, you don't want to go back to high school. You don't want to have to like get a lower degree or repeat a grade. Those are things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And once you leave, you know, it's like you don't want to have regrets. And I think that regretting not going to a party won't last as long as the regret of getting an F on a test. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like the best thing to do is knock out your priorities first, and then have all the fun you want.
I mean, yeah.
And like, don't stress. Don't stress over the priorities. You know, like there's some things that like can be super stressful, and the stress is only gonna pile up if you don't know how to like handle that, and just know like, all right, the best you can do is really like the best you can do. You know, the old football coach used to have a saying. He was like, you can control like what you can control. Don't worry about things you can't control, because then it's going to cause more stress, and it's going to pile up. It's going to be harder. You know what you can do, and know what you can control, and give it your all. And if your all isn't enough, work on it. You know, work on it so that next time when you give it your all is enough, and that you can be satisfied with the work that you did, whether it's school, whether it's socially, whether it's anything. Just, you can't be satisfied unless you give everything you have.
Yeah, I mean, you actually just said it very well, so I understand everything that you were saying. And I mean, yeah, I've noticed that's the biggest thing is balance.
Right.
And you know, like, I mean, yes, the social life is something you want to enjoy while in high school, like going to parties, but at the end, you know, it might be fun to be the popular kid, but that's not going to last forever. What is going to last, not forever, but what's going to be on your record is the grades that you got.
Exactly.
You showing up to class, because colleges see that. Colleges are not going to care that you were the popular kid, that you went to parties, because ultimately that's not what's going to make you money, because you need good grades in high school to get into college, to, you know, get that degree to help you get a high-paying job, hopefully, that will bring you in a lot of money.
Right.
It can work the opposite way too. Some people dropped out of high school or college and they still made a lot of money, but ultimately it's about the balance that you have for yourself and how hard you're willing to work to go for what you aspire for.
Exactly. And I think, like, to touch on that, it's like important to know what you want to do, you know, because I'm not like, not everyone's a school person. I'm definitely not a school person.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't always the best at school. I used to get like good grades, and then freshman, sophomore year was kind of iffy. Finally, like, I did better this year, my junior year, you know. So I can definitely say, like, I'm not an academic person. I don't think everyone is are academic people. You know? But I feel like knowing your strong suit is really helpful. Like, for me, I know what my ultimate goal is, which is to be a filmmaker. And for a career like that, you don't necessarily have to go to school. Like, I know a lot of great directors who didn't go to school for filmmaking. And so it's the situation where, like, I can go to school and get the education and do good, and it can help me, but I don't need it. And so I tell people, and I tell myself all the time, if I go to college for filmmaking and I get on a set and I make my own film, and it's with a top-tier production company, it's a top-tier film, and I'm successful, I'll drop out of college, because it's not important to me, you know?
Yeah.
It should be important to careers. Like, if you want to be a doctor, you need to go to college.
Yeah.
You know? I don't want you doing an operation on me if you didn't go to college for it, you know? If you want to be a lawyer, you're going to want to go to college. But then there's careers where you don't need to go to college for, you know? And it's ultimately knowing what you want to do in life and knowing how you want to get there. Because I think that we all want to be happy in life and to feel like we did enough in life and that we did, you know, like what we wanted to do. We don't want regrets at the end of the day, you know? And I think that if you spend all your time studying and you spend all your time trying to get good grades and doing all that stuff, and then there's no time for anything else, there's no balance. And then you're not happy, you know? You won't feel satisfied. Even if you do end up getting where you want to get, you're still going to have the regrets, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like just knowing what you want to do and how you want to get there is important, you know?
Yeah, you said it very well, and you know, unfortunately, this we have to end it right now, but we can come back for episode 2, because I mean, I want to hear a lot more stuff you have to say, you know, especially for the viewers as well.
Yeah.
You've said a lot of good stuff today. You've done terrific work here at high school.
Thank you.
And you know, whatever your next journey is in life after high school, I wish you good luck.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And
Of course.
I can see a lot of bright things in your future. I like interacting interacting with you around school. I like the talks that we have, and I feel like I would love to stay connected.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that's it for the Amado Lucero Show. Thank you for staying tuned in. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tell all your friends and family, if you want to get an interview with me, just let me know in the comments. And that's it.
Sounds good.